and welcome back to the Radical Center. It's a new year, new us, I guess, or maybe same old us, just a new year. And we are looking forward to helping you get through 2025. 2025 is going to be a little bit of a bumpy ride in Canadian politics, and we are here to help you along the way. So we've got a lot coming up for you this year. We are very excited to also follow what's going on in our political world. And we also have a new logo that we just released. So hopefully you subscribe, you share, you tell your friends about all the wonderful conversations that we are having here on the Radical Center and how we are so prepared and so ready and so excited to help you get through the ride of our lives, which will be 2025 in Canadian politics. Let's get right into it. First of all, how are you, Cody? Happy New Year. Are you excited for this? Tell us a little bit about how you're feeling.
Yeah, I just want to say Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you for the support that you've given us so far. This has been quite the first 7 episodes. And the reason why we started this was because this election is coming up. And the main reason why we created this podcast is to give you a different type of election coverage so that you don't have to worry about tuning into the TV every day.
For sure. So let's get right into it. There's been a lot going on. December was a very, very busy month for a man named Justin Trudeau. He is under a lot of pressure to resign. Lots of people don't like him right now. A lot of people didn't like him for a long time, but right now his own team seems to be turning on him. It's a very strange thing to watch unfold. And he's had a number of his cabinet ministers now walk away. He's had, Chrystia Freeland walk away just before the holidays. And he has a number of his caucus members who have publicly called on him to resign and walk away. What do you think is going to happen, Cody? Do you think he's actually going to stick around, or do you think he'll resign? And then I'll tell you my full prediction, which I've already been tweeting about, but you go ahead and tell me what
you're full of predictions, and our batting averages on these things are usually pretty high. I'm going to say the same thing that I said about Joe Biden when he had that debate back in June. There's no mechanism for anybody but Justin Trudeau to say, I quit, I'm gone. Right? So to put that into perspective, what I'm going to say is this. If Justin Trudeau is going to resign, it's going to be up to him. He alone is going to be the one to make the decision. So I don't know if I can predict whether or not he's going to resign or not. But what I will say is the same thing that I said about Joe Biden, the Democratic Party. Whether he resigns or not, it does not matter. The Liberals are going to lose the next federal election. Justin Trudeau, one way or another, is not going to be prime minister at the end of this year. The only prediction that I'm going to make is whatever he decides to do, they're still going to lose.
I think he knows it's over. I think he knows the writing's on the wall, and I think he is going to walk away. I do understand, though, if I were to see things from his perspective, here you are, or here he is, a prime minister who was a leader of a party that was in third place. It was nothing, right? I mean, we all remember 2015 and Trudeau mania and how that saved the Liberal Party and brought them from basically the abyss back into being in government and winning a majority government. And if you see things from his perspective, I'm not saying I agree with him, but the reality is all the MPs who are calling on him to quit wouldn't be there if it wasn't for him, right? So if it wasn't for him, none of these people would be MPs right now. So I can understand from his perspective that, why is everybody freaking out? Like if you're expecting you're going to lose anyway, because realistically, he's not going to win a fourth election. That's just not realistic, right? I think the biggest issue is by how much they're losing and how much anger there is towards him. Not so much that they will lose. I think the writing's on the wall. I think everybody is expecting that they're going to lose. But when you see polling that says you're only going to have one Liberal seat in, Toronto, that's a little bit terrifying, right? So I think it's more so along the lines of the fact that they are going to lose quite badly, and that's why they're all freaking out, and not so much whether he will be prime minister or not at the end of the year. um I think he will leave. I think that, they're probably trying to figure out an exit strategy. I think he will probably want to attend Trump's inauguration, because you want to have some sort of stability. We want to have some, not that Trump is not aware, but you want to have a little bit of stability going into that. I think he'll resign shortly after the Trump inauguration. I think there will be an interim leader, probably Dominic LeBlanc, and I think he will prorogue Parliament until the Liberal Party is able to have a leadership race, which will probably take place in about 3 to 4 months. It will be a quick one, and likely a few candidates will run, or it might end up being a coronation if nobody's really up for it. I mean, why would you really want to run for this in the middle of terrible polling? I mean, you'd have to be really interested in torturing yourself to do this, but some people are. So I think there will be a leadership race of some sort, and then there will be most likely a vote of no confidence, and the government will fall as soon as the House returns. So I think we're about to watch a very interesting, very, very, a very Canadian drama in Canadian politics. But I think he will resign. The NDP saying they will vote no confidence. There's been back and forth with these guys. Like, what is going on with them? 1 minute they want to vote no confidence. 1 minute they tear up an agreement. 1 minute they come back and they vote confidence. And it's just been back and forth. I don't know how seriously I take this one, because I'm not sure Jagmeet will actually stick to it, because of the stunts we saw in the past. What do you think?
Yeah, one thing I want to say, I want to add to what you said before that is I agree with pretty much everything that you said when it comes to Justin Trudeau. And obviously, when you're in power, you're not going to let go of that very easily. That is true, right? Again, uh, along the same lines of what happened in the American election, what's going to happen is a leadership race, and they're gonna manufacture enthusiasm to try and come back and to win. They're just gonna go on to lose. So, but anyways, as when it comes to the NDP, I'll put it to you like this, okay? So I've been telling my wife for weeks now that I was gonna go to the mall and I was gonna buy our yearly Christmas ornament. But I keep on telling her that I'm gonna go, I'm gonna go, I'm gonna go. But I ended up not going at all. So Jagmeet Singh is like Cody Vatcher when he tells his wife that he's gonna go and get the Christmas ornament, okay? He's really not.
You're gonna get in trouble for
You're gonna
this.
get in trouble for it. Look, um, Jagmeet Singh and the NDP, they have lost a lot of credibility. It's very hard to find anybody who can articulate the reason why he pulled out of the no confidence agreement and then continues to support the government, other than to say that it's just kind of to save face, right? I do think you're right. One way or another, he's going to prorogue Parliament. If he stays on, they obviously have a strategy. So they're going to need to prorogue Parliament. If they're going to have a leadership election, they're going to have to prorogue Parliament. I agree with you. If the Liberal Party wants to project some sort of stability, you've got to put Dominic LeBlanc in charge, because he's probably the last person on the list that you could actually depend on anywhere in the country. And I have my disagreements with him over a number of things, but I'll give him some credit today. We'll talk about that another time if he happens to become prime minister. But yeah, I don't know what the NDP is going to do. Nobody does, right?
The NDP doesn't know what the NDP is gonna do.
Right? They don't know what they're going to do. Look, they're not going to be the opposition. They're not going to be in government, one way or the other. The way I look at it, you got two people or two parties who are going to be in opposition. It's either going to be the Liberals or the Bloc Québécois. Unless tradition happens where progressives decide that they're going to they're going to go over to the NDP side to prevent Pierre Poilievre from becoming prime minister. But I don't think that's going to happen because, like, you look at the same numbers that I do, right? And the parties are also looking at privately funded 10 times better polls that show the same thing. So, but again, this guy like Jagmeet, he has no backbone and he has no shame. And I don't know how even some of the hardcore NDP people that I know, they're not really sure how to defend him. I don't know if that was too
And
much,
I
but
no, no, I agree with that. I agree with that. There, but you gotta again, like if you were to see things from Jagmeet's perspective, right? He's in a really tough spot. He's in a really tough spot. On one hand, if he keeps the government in power, he's the guy who kept the government in power, and everybody hates the government, so everybody's gonna hate him too, right? And if he pulls the plug, he loses seats. But he's not doing too well either, right? It's not like, he's the one who's polling so high that he's going to do really well. If he pulls the plug, he gets a super majority conservative government who he is not going to be able to deliver anything with. He's not going to be able to work with. He's not going to be and they don't really like each other from what I gather. So it's a really tough spot to be in, right? For him. But I think his close working relationship with Justin Trudeau has cost him a lot of popularity with the Canadian public, especially because Trudeau has been so unpopular for such a long time, and he's held on to that power. And realistically, all the programs that he's very proud of delivering, those are going to be on the table for the Conservatives to potentially cut if they choose to
not
go in that
potentially.
direction.
A lot of it is gonna go like full bar, like
Yeah, right.
pharmacare. Those programs, they're 95%. They're probably gonna be gone.
Yeah, and that if you take that into consideration as a leader who has worked so hard to get some of these things, who you truly believe in these things, why would you want to give this guy the earliest opportunity to get rid of them if you know that that's what he will do? So the thing is, I see things from their perspectives, right? It's just that's not what the average Canadian is looking for. The average Canadian is looking for a change in government, and they want it now because they're not happy with the way things are. They're not happy with the housing crisis and the economy and all of the Canada's relationship with the US is gone south. So there's a lot of things that the minds of people. Besides, there comes a time where every government's got to go. So I think it's been harmful for Jagmeet to hold on to Justin Trudeau so tightly and not want to let him go. But I can also see why he would do that, and why he's in a way choosing the person he could probably still work with and get some things done with, rather than the person who's going to delete everything that he has worked for so far. Let's talk a little bit about likely contenders for this upcoming, or what we think is an upcoming. I think it's happening, but let's say it's happening. Okay, let's pretend he resigned already, because might as well. Mark Carney appears to be Canada's most bored man, because he really, really wants to do this. And you have to be really, really bored to really, really want to lead the Liberal Party right now from like only one Toronto seat. I don't know why he wants to do this. Former governor of the Bank of Canada and Bank of England. You'd think he would not want to take on a project that is such that's leaning so heavily towards being a waste of time, but he wants to do it. He is calling around Liberal MPs, talking about his leadership ambition, according to a Toronto Star article. What do you think? First of all, what do you think of Carney running? We talked about this a little bit earlier, but in previous episodes. But what do you think of Carney running? And who do you think is also going to put their name forward as a likely contender?
Well, I'll preface it with this. What do I think of carbon tax Carney running? That's what I think.
Yeah,
So you said he's calling around MPs looking for
that's
support.
the
Is
story.
that is
Yeah,
that
that's the
your
story.
scoop, or is that what's coming out of the media?
No, it's breaking news. Mark Carney
Okay.
is calling Liberal MPs.
Okay, so let's assume he's planning a coup. He's planning an
Yeah.
insurrection on the government. Look, the conservatives have known for a while that whether Mark Carney was going to take over as prime minister or whether he was going to take over as liberal leader in the future, they knew that all the potential opponents that they had to define him. And back
Hmm.
we remember talking offline and through social media way back before we started this podcast. We both thought it was a bad idea for Mark Carney to get anywhere near the leadership until at least after the next election. And I think it's safe to say that is my feeling right now. I don't know why he would want probably one of the worst jobs in the country right now, because if he takes over, let's say he takes over as liberal leader and he leads the liberal government to defeat, what happens? Does he stay on, or like what does he do? Those are a lot of questions that have to be asked. If I were him, if I were selfish, I would just leave the country for a while and let everything happen and then come back.
Liberals are notorious for getting rid of leaders that don't win elections, and I think that's a good thing. In politics, everything is about timing. Timing is absolutely everything. And this is just bad timing. Honestly, Mark Carney had the opportunity to do this in 2021 when he was supposed to run in Ottawa Centre, and they really wanted him to run, and he was supposed to just walk in and become finance minister, and he turned it down because he didn't want to do it at the time. Now, and that would have been a great opportunity for him to get in, be finance minister, introduce himself to the public, build rapport within the party, people getting to know him. you know Most people know I was a liberal most of my life. I've never met Mark Carney. I don't know this man, right? Like you don't see him anywhere until recently, where he's popped out of nowhere and wanting to become a leader. Parties don't work that way. They won't like him. He might have a chance if it's a coronation, if nobody else wants to run. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if he would win a very open and fair leadership race. I don't know what his organization capacity would be. I can't imagine it's too big, given the fact that he's not really been that heavily involved. But I guess he can hire people who can organize for him. That's not a big issue. I think, his ability to connect with the average liberal will be in question, and his ability to connect with the public will be a huge question, especially as the conservatives are going to really, really go after him, and label him, as they already have, as carbon tax Carney. And that's going to be a struggle for him to, and he's also going to have a bit of a hard time distancing himself from Justin Trudeau because of that very well-known, close relationship, and the fact that he's been rumored to be his successor for so long. So you're the successor of the guy who everybody hates, and people are not gonna like that. I think it's a terrible idea for Carney. I've said it before. I don't know. He probably could do other things in his life. Like he doesn't need to do this, but for some reason he seems to be interested, at least based on what the reporting says. And I don't know. Maybe it's cool to be prime minister for 5.5 minutes. Maybe it's a good punchline, I guess, for future speeches. But
Well,
yeah, I don't see
look
this.
at all these MPs who just got appointed to cabinet. They're going to be a cabinet minister for 20 minutes. You know,
Yeah, basically. Yeah, but you get to call yourself a cabinet minister, a former cabinet minister, for the rest of your life, I guess. So who knows, And but the other thing is, who's gonna do it? Like, who else is gonna do it? Right? You see a lot of seasoned MPs and cabinet ministers walking away because they know what's coming, right? Party needs to have a leader. It's just a question of who is it going to be. Is Mark Carney going to turn out to be the next Michael Ignatieff?
right? Yeah.
Probably.
Well, the other thing that I would say too is I'll give the liberals a little bit of advice, but I'm not going to give too much advice this entire year. Okay? My advice,
Like,
my advice, okay? This is going to sound a little biased, but I think the best thing that could happen to the Liberal Party is that you lose the next election. You lose the next election, and then you have, 4 years to reinvigorate yourself. Conservatives, we had to do that 2015, in 2019, and 2021. We got new leader in 2019 and 2021. They both lost, and they only got one kick at the can, and they were gone. So if the Liberal Party changes the way they operate, they could do the same thing. And there is a possibility that in 4 years that Pierre Poilievre is not as popular as he is today. And there is a chance that you can knock him down to a minority, or you could take government back altogether. But if I'm Mark Carney, and I mean this sincerely, if I'm Mark Carney, stay away. Like, don't touch this. If you want to form government in the most timely manner again, the best thing to do is to lose, because I mean, we've both ran in elections. We've both lost. I haven't had the benefit of winning, but when you lose, it's really hard, and it takes a lot of reflection, and to build yourself back is a process. But I think eventually, with the right leader, the Liberals might be able to come back.
Also, people won't give a second. The party has a long history of getting rid of leaders who lose elections pretty quickly. It's not good. And the reality is, if he gets in now and he loses as badly as predicted,
That's it. You're done.
that's it. That's done. There's no coming back from that. So and it's too risky. I would say, Mark, listen to me. I've said this before, stay away. This is not the time. It's the wrong time to be trying to lead the Liberal Party, or to run for the Liberal Party, or to do anything that has anything to do with the Liberal Party. Let's talk a little bit about provincial politics and how all of this is, I guess, impacting the potential election provincially. So there's a lot of talk about a spring election. There's a lot of talk about an early election. And Brian Lilly says it's not happening. So what do you think of that? Do we still think that there's going to be an early election provincially this spring?
So I read the article. It was quite an interesting article that I read. I read it as well. And at the end, he prefaced it by saying, like, don't expect it. So it's not like Brian Lilly is saying there is going to be election or there's not going to be election. It's kind of a little bit of a cop out to me. But I would take Brian Lilly seriously, in the sense that he does have good connections with the premier's office, and we know that. I don't know, like, obviously, if you're going to call an early election, there's obviously going to be a fear to that, because, especially if you're in a majority government and you have a pretty healthy majority, what is your rationale for taking the public to the polls ahead of time? And that's what Ford has to say. Look, if I was Doug Ford, I would have done it right after the American election. It's perfect timing for him to say, look, we are going to be under the threat of these tariffs for the next 4 years. Donald Trump's going to be president for 4 years, but I've only got 2 years. So do you want to swap out government in the middle of whatever's to come of the Trump presidency? That's the way I would have done it. Now, there are people who get paid to think about this all day, and they are privy to, like I said, private polling numbers that are usually better than the public polling numbers. So maybe they're seeing something that we're not, or as you've said in the past, maybe he's just afraid to do it.
Yeah, it's scary. Why ruin a good thing, right? Or why do something that's risky? Why take a risk when you don't really need to? And to be honest, I think he can see that he is consistently doing well in the polls. Maybe if they saw a little drop, or like they saw Bonnie, doing a little bit better, then they might want to hurry up so that she doesn't have an opportunity to catch up. But it just hasn't happened, right? Like, the reality is, I think whether the election is gonna be in the spring of 2025 or spring of 2026, I think the result's gonna be the same. Like, I don't see the Liberal Party growing so much that they're gonna be able to bring down the government. Let's talk quickly about some new ads provincially. We saw a few ads from the three parties. What do you think of Mayor Stiles' new ad?
Okay, so the NDP and the Liberals ad, I'm gonna kind of like group them together because I got the same vibe from both of them. Um, from the NDP, I felt hers was a little bit better produced. I don't know, the feeling of it was a lot more warmer than from Bonnie Crombie, the Liberals. But the common message that I see between the NDP and the Liberals versus what Doug Ford had put out is they're sort of like they're asking for money essentially, right? They are talking about their accomplishments and they do say what they want to do if they want to form government. It's a lot of it was centered around we need your money in order to fight. Doug Ford's, he didn't ask for any money. He just touted his accomplishments. So I don't know if the average Ontarian is going to take away the same thing that I did, but that's sort of what I took away is where the opposition is asking for money because they don't have a lot of it, and Doug Ford is touting his accomplishments as premier. So that's kind of the general vibe that I got from all three of them.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would say that their audiences are clearly different. Doug Ford's message is tailored towards voters. He's trying to tell people how well he's done for them and why they should keep him in government. And both the NDP and the Liberal are preaching to the choir, people who are likely to give them money tend to be people who believe in their cause. You can hear in Mart's way of speaking, this is about a movement. We're building a movement. This is about grassroots donations, small donations. It's working. That's very NDP language, grassroots movement, that kind of thing. I gotta say, I'm really not impressed with the Liberal one. It sounded like a robocall, to be honest. It sounded like a robocall that someone decided to tape for some reason. And it was too short. It didn't say very much. It was just like, "Hi, I'm Bonnie, and I need money because I want to fight Doug, and give it to me." That's basically all I got from it. And just it sounded like a robocall, which is not really what you're looking to do, kind of in this kind of thing. I like Mart's styles definitely better than I liked Bonnie's, but I agree with you. I think, the message is different than what the Conservatives are putting out, and certainly it sounds like the audience is very different because Doug is speaking to voters while both the opposition leaders are just asking for assistance from the converted in a way. So we will see what happens. We will see over the next few months. If there will be a spring election. I don't really know if a spring election will happen given everything is going on federally. There's just too much going on. And at this point, it may not necessarily be the best idea based on just all of the drama that's unfolding in the federal government. If you want to be a leader who is like, I'm the stable person, then you gotta like show stability. You can't be like, okay, let's go into an election when like the federal government is up in flames, right? So you got to be stable and show stability. We'll see how it goes. But that is all we have for today on the Radical Center, or for this week on the Radical Center. Tune in next week again, and the week after that, and the week after that, as we continue to bring you great conversations and great, I don't know, debates, arguments, whatever you want to call them, about everything that's going on in Canadian politics in 2025 and hopefully beyond. That's about it for today. So we will see you. We'll see you again next week, and we hope you've had a really good start to 2025, and Happy New Year again.